Welcome to From Zero to Knowledge with House of ZK. My name is Ashley, and today we're going to be talking about what zero knowledge proofs really are, and we'll walk through an example of how they can work. Today I'm joined by Vanishree.
Hey, Ashley, it's great to do these videos with you. My name is Vanishree. I'm the founder of Fermah. Fermah is a universal proof market where we generate proofs for any proof system, any VM, any chain, any instance in a cheap and performant manner. And yeah, I've been in the trenches for more than 15 years working on zero knowledge proofs. Did my PhD in zero knowledge proofs back in the day with Professor Amit Sahai. I've worked on the MENA protocol for a little more than 4 years, working on consensus protocol, working on the snarks for MENA. I've also worked on this other protocol called Midnight, and then founded Fermah late last year in 2023. And I'm just extremely passionate about zero knowledge proofs, and this is just a great fun series where we are going to explain ZK in an as intuitive manner as possible. And the goal is for this to be a one-stop set of videos for any developer to understand ZK enough to start embracing ZK.
Great. Well, I'm really excited to get into it today. So why don't we start with you explaining what a zero knowledge proof actually is?
Right. So it's always useful to understand the concept, starting with the concept that we already know, right? Zero knowledge proofs are not as well known as encryption is. Encryption is used on a daily basis in our HTTPS, for example. So let's start there, right? So let's begin with what encryption is, and then we will walk from there to what a zero knowledge proof is. Sounds good? All right. So what is encryption? There are two people, sender and a receiver. The sender wants to send a message. Sender wants to send a message M to the receiver, and the sender doesn't want anyone else to get to know anything about that message, right? That's encryption. So if you see, if you parse what I said into two parts, there is the functionality part that I'm sending it to you. There is a security part. Nobody else should know. You should know of the functionality. Nobody else should know if the security part, right? So now let's see what a zero knowledge proof is in a similar way. So zero knowledge proof also has two parties here. This party is called a prover, and this party is called a verifier. And this query will run some computation, right? Some computation, right? Some combination, right? And wants to convince this party that it ran the computation correctly, and wants to reveal a little bit of it. Some part, this part, let's say, yeah? So it looks like this, right? So I'm just going to try to just write that, right? So it wants to reveal this little part of the computation, and wants to convince that the entire computation was done correctly, right? Now, let's break what I said into functionality and security. So the functionality part is that, let's say I'm the prover and you're actually the verifier. I will run some computation, and I want to convince you that I ran the computation. Correct. This is the functionality part. You both are honest. And what is the security part? The security part is that when I reveal this little bit of information, it's only that bit of information you should get to know. And you shouldn't, no matter what I share with you to convince you that I've done the computation correctly, no matter what it is, you shouldn't learn anything else about the computation. That is the zero knowledge part of security. That you won't learn any part of this is the zero knowledge part of security. There is another aspect of security, and that is if I am bad, if I'm malicious, I shouldn't be able to convince you of something that is wrong here. I did everything correctly is what I need to convince you. You shouldn't be fooled. Let's say I do some computation, maybe I didn't do something correctly, right? I didn't do something correctly, but I told you that I did it correctly, and you shouldn't get convinced. And that part is called the soundness property of zero knowledge proof. So these two are the security properties of a zero knowledge proof. So to summarize, in any primitive in cryptography, there is always a functionality part and there is a security part. It's a very, very useful mental model to keep in mind to understand a primitive. What is the functionality part? Where everybody behaves well. It's a completely happy world. Everybody behaves as intended. No one is malicious. And then there's a security part. You assume the worst case scenarios and you want some properties to still hold, right? Now we saw what the functionality and security for encryption was. And for zero knowledge proofs, the functionality is that you get convinced of a computation. You learn a part of the computation. That's the functionality. The security part is zero knowledge and soundness. Zero knowledge, you don't get to know anything else about the computation. That is not intended to be shared with you. And the second part of the security is soundness, where I shouldn't be able to convince you of anything that is wrong. Right? So this really is what a zero knowledge proof is.
I see. But how can I be sure, just by seeing this little piece of what you've shared with me, that you did the computation correctly? How could I know this information without receiving everything else?
Yeah, isn't that mind-boggling?
Yeah.
Right. So let me. So this seems a little too abstract, right? So let's do this. Let's start with an example of a situation, and then let's also run through a protocol, a zero knowledge protocol, to gain some level of concreteness in what we're speaking. So an example is, let's say, I want to prove that I'm over certain age, that limit, and what I have with me is my driver's license, where it is issued by the Department of Transportation, U.S. Department of Transportation, and it has my date of birth. Right? This is the input. I only want to share with you that I'm over 21 years of age. Right? Now, you shouldn't get to know my date of birth. You shouldn't get to know the address in my driver's license. You shouldn't get to know anything else. You just need to get to know that I'm over 21 years of age. That's the fact. That's this part, and all the other details are going to. So the computation that people do here is this from Department of Transportation? Yes, there is a signature from them. What is the current date? What is the date today? There is some sort of source with which you get the date from today, and then you look at my date of birth and you compute my age. And then you check whether it's over 21 years. I check whether it's over 21 years of age or not. All this computation is done here, but only a part of the computation is shared with you, right? So this is an interesting example of what you can do with a zero knowledge proof. Now, to your question on how this could work, right? It's so mind-boggling that how is it possible that I can convince you of something without revealing why it's true? It just is impossible, and it seems impossible, but this was invented back in the day, many decades ago, and there has been an active, long line of research, and right now it's an extremely active research area and implementation area especially in the crypto world. And we will see an example of how a zero knowledge proof protocol can look like. Ready to see an example protocol?
Yes, please. All right. Any questions so far? So I understand that this is a way for you to tell me that you have an answer. And I don't understand yet how I'm supposed to know that you're lying to me.
So this is a great example to explain zero knowledge proofs. And here is a puzzle, right? It's a puzzle. It's called graph tree coloring. You are given a graph. It has these nodes and edges, right? Can be any planar graph, 2D graph. And it has these nodes and edges. And your goal is to color these nodes in such a way that, so you have only 3 colors, right? Red, blue, and green, let's say. You have only 3 colors. And you need to color these nodes in such a way that no 2 connected nodes have the same color. Okay. So let's say this is green. This can be green because these 2 are not connected. This needs to be blue or red, right? Okay, right. So this is a puzzle. It's called graph tree coloring. And let's go through how a zero knowledge proof protocol can look like, where you and I know there is a puzzle, there is a graph, no coloring in it. And let's say I have a solution to the puzzle, right? I'm the prover and you're the verifier. Let's say I have a solution to it. I know the exact tree coloring. I know how to color the nodes in this constraint. It's a 3-colored graph where no 2 connected nodes, no 2 adjacent nodes have the same color. But I don't want to tell you the exact coloring, and you should get convinced that I do have the exact coloring. Okay, that's the goal, right? Okay, so here is a graph. It's a planar graph. It has a few nodes and a few edges, and I'll have a coloring here that satisfies the 3 color. Okay, so my claim to you is that no 2 nodes that are adjacent have the same color. Okay. And now we're going to play a game. So you're going to try to catch me if I'm lying. Okay. So the way we do it is that you choose a random edge and I reveal the colors to you. And I go and use the coloring. Maybe I flip red to blue, blue to green, green to red. I do some sort of permutation. Then I come back and they choose another edge and reveal the colors for that edge. And we keep doing until we're satisfied. Oh yeah, this girl is, I think she's right. Okay. We do that as long as you want. And later we will run through why this protocol is a good zero knowledge proof protocol. Okay. So let's start with round 1. Do you want to choose an edge? Sure. Let's go with this bottom one. Okay. Well, you have a green color and a red color. Okay. So color do you, which edge do you want to choose? Let's go with this one on the inside of the star here. Okay. So there is a blue, and green. Okay. It's answer there. Well, but all right. How about this one? Okay. Blue and red. All right. Let's go with this edge. Okay. Green and red. Okay, nice. So I guess there's a chance he could have guessed it right the first time. But now we're doing it over and over and over again. Okay. Yeah.
let's try this line. Green and red. Okay, how about this one? Okay. Blue and green. Nice. All right. All right. You stump me every time. Or you shown it every time. All right. Let's go with this one. Okay. Blue and red. Okay.
Before we actually analyze this protocol, let's go ahead with another graph.
Okay.
That is impossible to have a three coloring for.
Okay. So it's impossible for two adjacent nodes to be different colors in every instance in this graph.
There is at least one edge where I'm lying.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Gotcha.
So this is the graph. You can, folk and audience can try to see if it can at all be three color. It's impossible to three color this graph.
Okay.
I have some coloring here, and I'll try to convince you, but we're going to run this protocol.
Okay.
And let's see when you'll catch Jamie.
Okay. All right. Let's start with this one. Green or Christian orange. Okay. Well, have to try again. Let's see. Now we'll do this one. Blue. All right. And we can do this one. Green and blue. Okay. Now let's try. Oh. Was the very good taper. Okay. All right, let's go with this one. Blue and orange, okay. Let's see. Let's try this one then. Blue, green. Let's go with this top one. Blue, no blue. Uh-oh. So, wow, I had to do it a lot of times before I caught you.
It's because I'm randomizing it. I'm trying to make sure that you won't catch me, but if you do it enough times, it's very rare that you won't catch it. So let's see how easy it is for me to fool you.
Okay.
So we can analyze this protocol.
So we walked through a zero knowledge protocol, but I don't understand why I was able to catch you.
Right. So we want to make sure you're right that you should analyze this protocol now to see why it satisfies the two properties, soundness and zero knowledge. Let's start with soundness property. So the soundness property says that the probability of Ashley catching me is very high. This is what I want to prove. Okay. So let's start with, we will figure what this is by going through a few steps. So how many, let's say there are E edges, right? Let's say there are E edges. What is the probability? What is the probability that Ashley picks a bad edge? What is that probability?
the probability that I would choose an edge that has two colors adjacent, 1 over E. That's right. Or at least 1 over E. That's right. Okay.
So let's not worry about the greater than or equal to sign. Let's keep it simple. Let's call this probability to be this. Okay. Now, what is the probability that Ashley doesn't
Pick that itch. What's that probability? I guess it would be 1 minus, right? 1 over E.
Now, what is the probability that you run for n times? Run for n times, and Ashley doesn't pick a bad itch at all in all those n times. So this is 1 minus 1 by E. This happens n times. Okay, and this is very, very small. It grows exponentially lower and lower. It becomes smaller and smaller as n grows bigger and bigger exponentially, because this isn't the exponent. And this is the probability that I fool you.
Okay. And so the more times we do it, exactly, the lower the chance that you're going to fool. Exactly. Gotcha. Right. Right. Okay. And hence, this is a great protocol as far as soundness is concerned. Now, let's see why
The zero knowledge property also holds in this protocol.
And it holds only because of the simple fact that every time you were about to choose,
Just before you were about to choose an edge, it permuted everything. Whatever you learned in the first round was not relevant in the second round, was not relevant in the third round. So it just didn't give you enough information to put things together and learn a three-color. And this is why it holds. This is why the zero knowledge property holds in this protocol.
in order for this to be small enough that it's acceptable probability that I won't pick a bad edge?
That's a great question. So you pick your probability that you're happy. Let's say
let's say this probability is 0.00000, something like this. Now with this, you look at the size of the graph, you look at the number of edges, you have this, you can get this. Okay, yes. Okay, you could solve for this, and that's how many times you can run. And if you haven't caught me lying in any of those, then you can be convinced with all but this probability that I'm speaking correctly. Gotcha. Okay. All right. All right. So we've covered what a zero knowledge proof is, and now we understand the principles of soundness and zero knowledge. We walked through an example to make it more clear, and now I kind of have an idea of how it could work. So I'm excited to keep going to the next video.